In this tutorial, we'll explore reshaping objects both destructively and non-destructively. Open up Illustrator and choose Create New or File, New. I'll change my unit of measurement first to inches, and we'll make this document 7 inches wide by 5 inches high. 1 artboard, 0 bleed, create. We can save our document, File, Save As, navigate into your USB drive, into Adobe Design Suite, and we can make a new folder. This will be 23-AI-Reshaping. Open up that folder. And I'm going to change the format of this document to an Illustrator EPS. So you'll see the file extension change to a .EPS. I'll highlight the Untitled and rename it as Your Last Name -23 Reshaping .EPS. Save, and then OK. I'm going to reset my workspace. So I'll go up to my workspace switcher, and I can tell it to reset essentials to snap all of my panels back in place. Okay, so the first object that I'm going to use is my rectangle tool, M. And I'll draw just a simple vertical rectangle. I'm going to take off the stroke, and this will be a palm tree. So I can give it a fill color. I'll go back to my selection tool, B, and we'll reshape this object first in a non-destructive way. And we'll also apply multiple fills to this object too. Under your Properties tab on the right sidebar, you'll see Appearance. If I click on the 3 dots below the Appearance area, it opens up the Appearance panel. And this is how you can apply multiple formatting options to a single object. I can see right now the color attributes I have. I have a fill color, no stroke color. At the bottom of your Appearance panel, you'll see the FX, Add New Effect. You would need your object selected before it would be able to apply anything. In fact, if I clicked out, it wouldn't know what I was trying to apply an effect to. So make sure it's selected. Click the FX at the bottom of the Appearance panel. This one will go up to Distort and Transform. You'll see that the top half of this menu is the Illustrator effects, and then the bottom half are going to be your Photoshop effects. We'll be working up in the Illustrator effects today. Distort and Transform, Zigzag. Make sure you have your preview on. And the first thing I think I'll do is change to a smooth point zigzag instead of a corner. And I can start adjusting my sliders. so it really won't take much. This is just the trunk of a palm tree. So you can adjust that however you want your palm tree to look. And then you can hit OK. Now if I zoom in, you'll see that it has a wavy appearance. And if I go to my outline view, it still shows the original rectangle vector. So this is non-destructive. If I take a look at the appearance panel, it now also shows me the zigzag effect that we just applied. So I can hit the eyeball to remove it, hide or show. I could also delete it, and then if I click back on that word, it takes me right back to the zigzag box. I can make my changes, hit OK. Save your document. And go back to the appearance panel. And in the bottom left corner of the appearance panel, you'll see you have add new stroke and add new fill boxes. I'm going to click the second one, which is add new fill. So I can see now it has two brown color fills. I'm going to the top one and I'm going to apply a pattern on top of this. So I don't really see, I have one pattern in here that I can see, but I don't think I want to use that one. In the lower corner of my swatches panel, you'll see Swatch Libraries menu. Click that and then go to Patterns. And you have lots of different pattern swatches you can open. I'll go down to Basic Graphics Textures. And I'll choose a different pattern. And now I see I have the pattern fill, no stroke, and then the brown color fill. So this is used in a stacking order. If I were to drag that pattern fill down below the brown, you'll see that now it's hidden because it's behind that solid color. So you want to keep an eye out for that. I can change the opacity of each of these layers. I clicked the arrow next to the pattern fill, and then I see opacity show up. So I can click that, and then I could turn on different blending modes. I think I'll just turn the opacity down of the pattern to about 35. And there's the trunk of our tree. And those patterns are also not vectorized. You could expand them and rasterize them, but right now it's kind of considered more of a color effect. Save your document. The next step is we'll make the palms of the palm tree. I'm going to do this with my pen tool, P. And I can see right now I have a fill, no stroke, so I'll swap that and I'll change my stroke color. And now I can start creating my vectors. So I'll do the first initial click and release and move out to where I want my next point to be. This one I'm going to click and hold my mouse and drag it down and to the right a little bit, just to give it some curvature up there. And right now I can see that the curve is not exactly how I'm going to want it to be, so I'm going to reset it by clicking that last anchor point, and I see I have the little V show up next to my icon, so that's when I know I can click. It's right on that anchor point. I'll hover over the beginning point until I see the little white circle show up next to my cursor, indicating I'm about to complete my path. And I'll click and hold my mouse key and drag that, give it a little bit of an arch there. Now I want this to have a fill and no stroke, so I'll swap the fill and stroke. And I can zoom in a little bit here. So what we'll do to this is use our Liquify tools to permanently reshape this object. I've noticed that a lot of the Liquify tools are usually hidden in the All Tools toolbar, so you may not see them available right away. If you go to the three dots at the bottom of your toolbar, that expands the All Tools menu, and you would navigate to this set of tools here. They're called your Liquify tools. So the Width tool, Twirl tool, Pucker, Bloat, Scallop, Crystallize, Wrinkle, those are all our Liquify reshaping tools. So you can grab those and drag them over into your toolbar, and you can collapse that menu when you're ready. So each one of these Liquify tools, if you double click it, it will bring up the tool options box. I actually want I'll start with the Wrinkle tool. I just want to apply the wrinkle to the bottom part of this from. So I'm not going to go right inside of it. I'm going to stay kind of below it a little bit. And then you can just kind of move it along and give it some imperfections. You can click and hold. You can also click and drag. So that one I kind of got a little bit on the top. I could undo that. And then maybe just go a little bit lower there. That was a little bit too much. And if I went to my outline view, now you'll see that it actually changed the shape of that object permanently. So it didn't add anything to the appearance panel, just reshaped those vectors. I'll go back to my selection tool and select that object. You can transform it. I can rotate it. In the bottom of my appearance panel, I'll go to the FX, and this time I'll go to the Stylize Inner Glow. Make sure your preview's on. And I can bring the blur, I'll maybe make it okay, so I want to set the inner glow to the edge, and I'll adjust my blur size. Probably needs to be pretty small, maybe 0.0625, and I could adjust my opacity a bit. Maybe adjust the blending mode. Maybe change the color. Click OK. Save your document. And I'm going to duplicate this. So holding my Alt key on a PC, Option on a Mac, you can click and drag. And now I have two. So I can rotate that a little bit, and I'll position these on top of the trunk. If I hold down Shift, I can select both of those at one time, and then I can scale it. Now I want to transform and duplicate these two objects. So I have both of the palms selected. I'm going to right-click, transform, transform each. Make sure your preview's on. And the first thing I'll do, I want to make sure Scale, Strokes, and Effects is turned on. And I want to click on Reflect X. So right now it looks like it's transforming my original object, and it could make you worry a little bit. But what we'll do is actually, before we're done here, is we'll click the Copy button. And that way we'll have our original objects, but also our new duplicated, moved, reflected objects as well. So don't worry about that right now. I can go up to my horizontal move slider, and I'm going to put it as far as I can all the way over to the left side. And again, you want to hit the Copy button, not the OK. If you hit OK, it would transform and move your original objects, but we'll do Copy. Now I should have both. And it has the two new objects selected, so I can adjust those and scale them. And you could always duplicate more. Use your stacking arrangement if you don't like the placement. So if I wanted that trunk in the front, I could bring it to the front. And there's my vectors right now. Save your document. Now we can start creating some shapes for the background. The first one is going to be with our rectangle tool. And I'll just go down in the corner, and this will be our sand. So I can change the fill color and right-click on that, Arrange, Send to Back. So I might need a little more contrast from the palm tree. So I think I'll go back to my selection tool and click on my palm tree and adjust the color of that so it stands out a little bit more. Okay, I have the sand selected. I can make a new fill through the Appearance panel, and here's my texture patterns. I still have that open, so I'll choose, there's one called Sand. You could try that. And you want to bring the opacity down, or you could try a different blend mode. maybe not a blend mode here, I guess. But I will bring the opacity down. Sorry, that's my dog. And save the document. Now we can create another rectangle above it. I can't see if I'm over there. Okay, so it still has that sand pattern applied. So I'll change this fill. We could make it some grassy area. I want to send this item backwards. I think I'll start with sending it all the way to the back, but then I want it to be in front of the sand. So I'm going to actually send the sand all the way to the back. I can bring this up a touch here. And I have the grass object selected. I'll go to the Add New Effect at the bottom of the Appearance panel. This time we'll do a let's try zigzag again. And I can change it to smooth. I can adjust the ridges per segment. Seems like when I go below, there we go. And adjust the curvature. Okay, I'm happy with that. I can click OK and adjust the size a little bit. I can see that it is extending beyond the edges of my artboard, and that's okay. That's a bleed area, that's the pasteboard area. If I were to save it to a different format and use it in another location, different medium, I would have that file clipped to the edges of the document, so this doesn't actually interfere with anything. Okay, so I can click out, and again, I can check my vectors. You can see the objects that are destructively reshaped versus non-destructively. And let's draw maybe some hills or mountains in the background. So just another rectangle. I'll give it a brown color for the fill. I like to go back to my selection tool when I'm transforming so that I don't accidentally keep drawing more rectangles. I'll send that all the way to the back, and I think I'll permanently reshape this object. So if I go to my Liquify Tools, I'll try my Warp tool. And this one I'll just kind of roughen it up. And it's not giving me a whole lot. I mean, I can kind of work with it a little bit more, but if I wanted to adjust the settings on the Warp tool, I would double click on it. From here I could change the size of my brush, the angle, intensity. Maybe I increase the intensity. Click OK. Now I'm getting more of a warp. You can see, you can drag it any direction you want. And you can click and hold, click and drag. might make my brush size a bit bigger. I could add another fill and maybe try a little gradient overlay. Earth tones. And go to my gradient tool and open my gradient panel. I want to flip my gradient. There we go. You can see how I permanently changed and warped the top of that rectangle. Save your document. We could apply some additional texture by adding a pattern overlay. I gotta select my object and see if any of these. You can always try to see other patterns that we have in there. Nature foliage. These are kind of fun. Not exactly what I'm looking for right now, although that's not bad. Not hating those. I could try to maybe just make them a little more subtle. Save your document. And now we'll put some water in here. I'll go to my pen tool P, and I don't want to add to any paths. So right now when it's showing me that anchor point there, if I click there, it actually worked. I'm okay. So I'm going to do kind of a triangle shape for my water. And I'll give it a different fill color. I'll try my warp tool. Adjust your settings if you need to. And I'll just kind of have the water be a little imperfect at the edges. I could also add some gradient to this if I add another fill, and I could add a gradient. I'll go up to Edit, Copy, and then Edit, Place in Back. And I'll scale that out a little bit. And also change the opacity. And we could try some patterns again. Let's save the document. Feel free to play around with your fills and patterns. You could try some different options and objects. You could add a sky. That looks interesting. Play around with different effects and also your Liquify tools. Save often. And that is all for Illustrator Reshaping. Thank you.